Krav Maga is a comprehensive system of self-defense, third-party protection and fighting skills forged in the field, under real-life conditions, both in the battlefield and on the streets. Emerging out of the needs of a persecuted, resource-strapped minority defending itself against those bent on its destruction, Krav Maga was developed through extensive experience in the war for survival and in face-to-face confrontations. Today, Krav Maga is an integrated system incorporating clear logic, highly effective and systematic techniques, concepts and principles of action, as well as unique, advanced training methodologies. Throughout its development, the concepts laid down by Krav Maga's founder have remained constant: simplicity and efficiency, upholding the highest moral values and respect for all mankind. Grandmaster Imi Stay-Or, founder of Krav Maga, was born Imrich Lichtenfeld in Budapest, Hungary in May of 1910. He grew up in Bratislava, Slovakia, where his father, Samuel, was head of the city police department's detective unit. As part of his role, Samuel was charged with training his subordinates in defensive tactics. Under his father's influence, Imi started training at an early age and quickly emerged as an exceptionally talented athlete. As a teenager, he trained in gymnastics, wrestling and boxing. By the age of 19, he was already recognized as an international champion in these fields. Later, he focused on wrestling and competed as a member of Slovakia's national team for a decade. In 1936, fascism begins to spread throughout Europe, bringing with it a wave of violence against minorities. Entire Jewish communities find themselves defenseless, under constant attack instigated by the authorities. Imi, a young, proud Jewish athlete, is not prepared to put up with the humiliation and helplessness of the victims. Together with other young men, he organizes a group dedicated to the active defense of those targeted for attack. Under his leadership, the brave defenders successfully fight back, driving off the assailants using only their bare hands. It is under these circumstances that the seeds for an effective combat and self-defense system are planted. A system nurtured and developed by Imi a few years later into what would become known as Krav Maga. The year is 1940 and World War II is raging throughout Europe. Imi leaves Bratislava just moments before it is taken over by the Nazis, and he boards an underground immigrants boat to Palestine. After a long journey, during which he joins the Czech Legion of the British Army, Imi arrives in Palestine, which at that time was under the control of the British Mandate. He quickly becomes involved in the training and instruction of Jewish defense organizations, fighting against the Arab insurgency. With the establishment of the State of Israel, Imi naturally integrates into the newly established Israel Defense Forces. Due to his extensive experience and formidable abilities, he is nominated as the Army's chief physical fitness and hand-to-hand combat instructor. It is in this role that he begins to develop Krav Maga and to train soldiers, officers and instructors. In 1964, after 20 years of service, Imi is honorably discharged from the military. He decides to organize his vast knowledge and practical experience into a system suitable for civilian application as well. As part of this initiative, Imi opens 2 self-defense studios, training many students and instructors, all the while adapting and improving the Krav Maga system for civilian self-defense as well as for the needs of elite military and police units. In 1974, at the age of 15, Eyal Yanilov begins to practice Krav Maga. Early on, he shows extraordinary talent, both as a practitioner of the system and as an instructor. He is quickly recruited by Grandmaster Imi to train other instructors, and he later takes Imi's place teaching higher level classes. In the early 1980s, Eyal becomes Imi's foremost instructor and his closest disciple, as well as his most trusted assistant and advisor. After completing his studies in electrical engineering, Eyal starts training Israeli counter-terrorist units. Along with Imi, he writes a series of books laying out the principles of Krav Maga. Considering Eyal's substantial knowledge and experience, Imi decides to appoint him as head of the professional committee of the Israeli Krav Maga Association. In this position, Eyal creates and upgrades the curriculum, formalizing Krav Maga as a coherent system built around principles of action and unique instructional and training methods. In the mid-1980s, Eyal travels abroad, introducing Krav Maga to people in countries around the globe, first in the United States and then in Europe. He teaches the system to elite military and law enforcement units as well as to civilians. In order to manage the challenge of spreading Krav Maga beyond Israel's borders, Eyal founds the International Krav Maga Federation and serves as its chairman and head instructor under the tutelage and support of Grandmaster Imi. Imi regarded Eyal as family and as the natural choice for leadership of the Krav Maga system. For this purpose, Imi awarded him with the Founder's Diploma of Excellence and the first ever rank of Expert 8, the highest rank awarded to a Krav Maga practitioner. Imi Steor Lichtenfeld passed away in 1998 at the age of 88. To the day he died, Grandmaster Imi served as mentor and spiritual guide for Eyal Yanilov, and together they enhanced and developed Krav Maga. Since Imi's death, Eyal has taken upon himself the responsibility of leading and developing Krav Maga and taking it to the next level. He trains instructors and staff all over the world and has created a global infrastructure for disseminating the system. In practice, Eyal has trained all of the world's first-generation Krav Maga instructors. At present, a team of elite instructors, the global team, is assisting him in spreading the knowledge and the system of Krav Maga to numerous countries around the world. In addition to the many civilians training in Krav Maga centers, military and police special forces from around the world have also adopted Krav Maga as taught by Eyal and his team as their preferred hand-to-hand combat and tactical defense system. Over the years, the global network of Krav Maga branches has increased substantially, along with the numbers of practitioners and instructors. Different offshoots developed, all training under the umbrella name of Krav Maga. The International Krav Maga Federation, which was founded as a sports association, could barely meet the various changing needs of the times, and it became impossible neither to develop Krav Maga within the IKMF, nor to preserve the moral and professional spirit outlined by Imi. Therefore, Eyal decided, along with others, to harness his vast experience in Krav Maga, close to 40 years in the field, and founded Krav Maga Global, the KMG. KMG is the vehicle for Eyal and his team to disseminate and promote Krav Maga in an ethical, unique and uncompromising manner. Activities in various countries and close contact with those in the field enable tactical and technical growth and development suitable for each location and particular set of circumstances. Today, years after the passing of Grandmaster Imi, Krav Maga Global carefully supervises the professionalism of its instructors and the quality of instruction at all levels. Insistence on the highest moral and professional standards preserves the spirit and original path of Krav Maga's founder.
Spinning back horizontal elbow strike. We demonstrate here the basic technique and the basic learning process of this strike. You should stand with the side towards the target. Start with spinning the body and the head and look at the target before striking it. The front leg, the one closer to the target, is the pivoting leg, the axis. Starting with the spin, the strike hits the target and the back leg is somehow being dragged to continue forward and then is positioned as the front leg. With a series of attacks, one should usually strike twice with the same hand, as the first strike is more or less when you are back to the target, the second strike when you are sideways to the target, and then continue with other strikes. Here the example is a hook strike. In the basic learning process, you strike once and recoil the strike. Of course, the attack should pass the target and then recoil. In a sequence and series of attacks, definitely one should strike, recoil, strike again, do a set of fluid attacks, one after the other, and then move away from the danger zone. Dry drill in front of the target, one can see the body pivot, the looking before striking, the strike itself, and the continuation when the back leg becomes the front one. In the basic technique, one should emphasize the recoil. Spinning back horizontal hammer strike. Start with the spin, lead with the elbow, see the target before striking it, strike and recoil is the basic technique. Continue with more attacks. Usually the second attack is identical to the first one, meaning horizontal hammer strike. Now it's being done more sideways. After the second attack with the same hand, one should continue to attack more as the situation dictates. When you practice one punch by itself, emphasize the recoil. When you do series of attacks, continue naturally with shifting the weight according to the locations of the target. Continue with the recoil of the spinning attack, bending the elbow but then bringing it back to the ribs while attacking with the backhand, with the other hand. It is important to continue fluidly with series of attacks, shifting the weight correctly, using the maximum reach of every attack, and then move away from the danger zone. In a dry drill, one can see how the spin starts, there's eye contact with the target before striking, before the contact, and then continuing. If it's one strike by itself, recoil and get ready for the next strike. If it's a series of attacks, work fluidly with the best possible attacks that you can do in every given moment. Spinning a regular kick backwards. Working with the partner ignites you. Start with the side towards the target. Partner triggers your action by extending the target. Spin while pivoting on the front leg. Kick backwards, vertically upwards, hitting the target and then continuing with more attacks. Initially you came to a sideways position after the first kick, so work sideways and then frontal towards the target. After the spinning kick, you should land towards the target and from there to continue. While spinning and kicking, use the kicking leg the moment it disconnects from the ground and the base leg, as it is directed towards the target, as sort of a sight, sort of a line along which you are striking, you are kicking, and going towards the target. So this line should be from the back leg, the kicking leg, after the initial part of the spin, the base leg with its heel directed to the target, and the target itself, they are all on one line. Fluidly, one should continue after the first attack with more attacks, just to regulate yourself to function fluently, intuitively, with strong attacks, and then continue moving away from the danger zone. During the dry drill, one can see the pivoting, the eye contact with the target, and then the kick itself hitting the imaginary target. while the kick is sent towards the target. Try to be with your back as much as possible towards the target, looking by the side of the shoulder or under the arm or under the body. That's the correct way of looking towards the target. Do not look over your shoulder, as this limits your ability to raise the kick and to do a strong kick. As usually in the regular kick backwards, the head is going down, the leg is coming up. Torso is also lowered to enable a strong and high kick. Spinning defensive back kick. Execute a spin, eye contact, and a defensive back kick. After the first kick, one should land towards the target and continue with more actions. The kick itself, as usually in the defensive kick backwards, one should kick and recoil, lands toward the target. The eye contact is by the side of the shoulder or below the arm and the body. In the basic learning process and training, one should practice the kick by itself, only the kick. Land towards the target and then return to your initial position. Here we start from the position which is sideways to the target, so spin can be done as the front leg is a pivoting leg. In the defensive kick backwards, the knee and the toes should be directed downwards. This is more suitable while trying to hit the midsection of the body and avoiding making it harder to defend against, as the kick is narrow and able to penetrate through certain type of defenses. As in the other spinning attacks, one starts with a spin, eye contact before the kick or the punch, strikes, and then after the first strike, recoiling and continuing with more attacks. After the initial series of attacks, one should practice to continue in different manners, among others moving away from the danger zone. In such a kick, in order to achieve reasonable height and power, the upper body should be leaning away from the target. However, the pelvis and the whole weight should travel towards the target to increase the ability to impact. After the first attack, as you recoil, continue with more counterattacks, continue with more aggressive actions as needed. Naturally, in this case, if you continue with side kick, the body is tilted away. If you continue with strikes, you should strike while moving the torso, the shoulder, towards the target to create the correct distance that enables you to hit the target. Series of attacks incorporating the spinning attacks, the spinning kicks and punches. Here's the example, kicking or striking. As the attacker moved away from your range, the commitment to the first attack forced you into a spin. Or a spin would be the most comfortable thing to do. Here's the example, kicking with a roundhouse kick, missing the target, continuing with the spin with a defensive back kick or regular back kick, or a kick between a defensive back kick and a side kick. Same goes for striking, so you can spin and strike after you miss with a kick or after you miss with a strike. Shoulder push takedown. Advance with one leg between the legs of the opponent. With two hooks, grab below his knees. Push with your shoulder forward and upwards in the area of the tailbone. Pull and lift the attacker, take him down, and then move away from a danger zone or attack before you do that. Step between the legs of the opponent, and at the same time slam your shoulder to the lower part of his spine while hooking your palms below the opponent's knees. The hooks that you form are with the palm and the wrist area. The deeper part of the hook is the one should be below the opponent's knees. The shoulder push is done forward and a bit upwards. Pull the opponent's legs and open your hands to the sides. This will prevent the leg of the opponent to enter between your legs and maybe hit your groin area. As you do that, you shift your weight forward, upwards, and elevate yourself. In this case, the opponent lost his balance and is falling with the upper body and head towards the ground. At this moment, you can attack with a kick towards the groin area, or just leave the opponent and move away from the danger zone. This technique is being used in order to control attackers, in order to separate between two people who are fighting. It can be a stage in overcoming an attacker before continuing with more counterattacks and more. a forward sweep kick to take the opponent down. Kick the lower back part of the shin of the opponent with a low roundhouse kick executed with the lower part of your shin to slam the opponent to the ground. When you kick, your front hand is striking or pushing the opponent in the opposite direction. So the leg and the arm are doing more or less a scissor action. This technique is usually done with your forward leg. Advance with the forward crossing of the legs. The moment you landed with your back leg, your forward kicking leg will be already halfway to the target. The circular roundhouse kick aimed to the lower part of the shin of the opponent is hitting it in a horizontal manner, shin perpendicular to shin, with a bit of an elevation component in it. Your base leg should be more or less parallel to the leg of the opponent which you are sweeping. Keep your body as far away as possible from the opponent to avoid getting hit by a punch. Your forward hand, with sort of a counteraction to the kick, is slammed to the opponent's chest or shoulder, or even grabbing and pulling his forward arm. These two actions take the opponent down, then continue with more counterattacks or immediately move away from the danger zone. Attacker which is on the ground is partly more vulnerable. However, he can also kick from the ground, so you should be sure that you're not in danger immediately after the kick. For this, move away from the danger zone or continue with more counterattacks. Double leg takedown. Burst forward under the elbows of the attacker, slam into him, lift him, elevate his pelvis, throw him down to the ground, and continue with either more counterattacks or move away from danger zone. As you burst forward, your pelvis is more or less parallel to the pelvis of the attacker. With your shoulder, you slam into him while grabbing the upper part of his hamstrings. With your hands, pull his legs to one side, and with your head and upper body, push his body to the opposite side. Body of the opponent becomes horizontal. With a bit more tilt, his head will be lower than his pelvis. With your body, push the opponent's body towards the ground. Remove your low hand and press his head or attack it just while it is getting close to the ground. As the attacker's body is being slammed to the ground, you should be remaining standing. Continue with more counterattacks and move away as needed. Inside sliding defense against a straight punch with a strike in the end of the defense. Here we have a combination of hand defense with the forearm and a body defense moving diagonally forward. The hand defense is sort of combination of a straight punch to the target plus an inside defense with the forearm. The inside bony part of the forearm is being sent during the straight punch towards the attacker's body, towards the attacker's head. This forearm deflects the attack in sort of a sliding action. The contact between the attacker's forearm and your forearm should be a light one. If there's a lot of friction, it will slow down your attack and there will be no energy in the strike, in the contact with the target. Sending the hand should be with a vertical fist. Naturally, the initial position, the initial stance enables you to do an inside defense. We should say even dictates you to do an inside defense. The body defense is moving with the weight, maybe with a small step, diagonally forward, while creating a torque, a pivot of the body to make it slimmer in relation to the attack. After the initial defense and counterattack, continue with another counterattack with the backhand and more attacks as you see fit according to the situation. In this die drill, the sliding defense with a strike in the end, see how the fist is being sent towards the target while the body moves out from the line of the attack. Body moves diagonally forward with or without a step. The torque of the body is extremely important. This creates much more of a narrower target. Outside sliding defense against a straight punch with a strike in the end of it. From the relevant stance that enables an outside defense with the front hand, send the defending hand diagonally upwards and forward. This hand defense creates a sliding action. With a little friction, you deflect the opponent's arm diagonally upwards. It's practically a combination of a straight punch and the outside defense number 4. meaning upwards, rotating the pinky side of the forearm up to enable a stronger and a faster defense. The combination between the outside defense and the straight punch creates a reasonable strike to the opponent's chin or neck. Your forearm and elbow should be raised enough to deflect the strike over your head. The body defense is practically lowering the head and the body while moving it diagonally forward. In the dry drill here, we can see mainly emphasizing the hand defense. How the forearm, while rotating, is coming up over the head and driving forward to strike the target. Double defenses with the hands against kicks that delivered to unknown height. Facing an opponent who is kicking a regular kick straight from the front to a target that can be the groin area, the stomach, or the head. We combine double hand defenses, meaning the two hands are defending, while moving diagonally forward out from the channel of the attack. The rear hand should be doing an outside deflection. Send the forearm diagonally forward and deflect the kick, which is directed towards the abdominal area and down. The front hand is doing an inside defense with the forearm, deflecting, sometimes even sweeping motion to redirect the higher kick. So the elbow area can deflect the kick which is directed towards the abdominal, and the forearm is deflecting a higher kick. Both kicks together, overlapping between themselves, can defend the kicks which are directed from the groin area to the head. The body defense, moving diagonally forward with the pivot, with the torque, moving to about 45 degrees to the side of the opponent, enables you to counterattack well and control the opponent. According to the angle between you and the opponent, the first counterattack can be with the front hand as a straight punch, or if you turn more, a hammer punch, or the front hand can grab the opponent and the back hand will deliver the first counter. Double defenses against kicks with unknown height, with the front hand doing a low defense and the back hand is doing a high defense. Standing more sideways towards the opponent, who is delivering a side kick towards unknown height, or regular kick naturally towards the side of the body. The front hand should do a low outside defense, deflecting the kick which is directed towards the lower ribs or the hips or the thigh. Using a strong pivot which brings the backhand forward that can deflect a higher kick. While pivoting the body, it should advance diagonally forward, away from the line of the kick. The two defenses should be overlapping, so no kick can find a space between the two defenses and hit the body of the defender. The efficiency of the rear hand definitely depends on the strong pivot, the strong torque of the body. The far shoulder, the back shoulder, should be brought forward as soon as possible. This pivot, however, should be done while moving the whole body diagonally forward. Continue with counterattacks. If you are at the right range, the first counterattack should be a hammer strike with the front hand. If not, it can be controlling with the front hand and then punching with the back hand, or just kicking with the rear leg. The synchronized moves of this defense needs strong pivot on the balls of the feet. This will enable you to move diagonally forward as soon as possible. While doing this pivot, the front leg, now it's the left leg, should be bent a bit. This takes the whole body quickly diagonally forward. Rear leg, initially the right leg, should be pushing as strong as possible to shift and send the body diagonally forward. So with the front hand, do a low defense, with the rear hand, do a high defense, and continue with strong counterattacks. Preventing measures against an attacker who tries to grab your shirt. The prevention should be according to the situation, the distance, the timeline. Here's the example of defending the attacker's attempt, deflecting his hand and moving away from the danger zone while talking to the opponent, warning him, keeping him away with a voice. Naturally, it is possible to defend and counterattack, but also to defend and control. Prevent the attempt to grab, control the opponent, push him away from you. Talking, warning, giving orders is part of the technique here. Against an opponent who grabs and also punches, here the attacker really attacks. Of course, a shirt grab by itself is not a dangerous grab, but here the attacker uses the grab of the shirt to set you up for a strike. It is obvious that you need to deal with the real problem, and the real problem is the attack, and naturally the attacker. So block the attack or deflect the attack depending what attack it is. Here it's a circular attack, so block it exactly like in 360, and then as needed continue with counterattacks, move away from the danger zone. In this simple example here, it is easy to defend and easy to counterattack. Sometimes you will need to move away a bit and use with the first counterattacks the legs, meaning first you kick and then continue as needed. Against a one-hand shirt grab, a release with rotating the upper arm. This technique includes rotating of the upper arm plus moving away from the opponent, retreating a bit. Simultaneously, you are rotating the hand of the side that was caught and moving backwards with the opposite leg. This enables the upper arm to rotate near the body, applying some sort of a pressure or a scissor action on the fingers of the opponent. To have more efficient release, one should rotate a straight arm. The upper arm applies pressure on the shirt and the fingers of the opponent. Pay attention that you don't do a circle deeper towards the forearm of the opponent. The pressure on the shirt, on the cloth, and the fingers takes the shirt, takes the cloth out from the grab. It doesn't matter if the attacker grabs you with the left or the right hand. What matters is which side he's grabbing you. If he grabs your left side, rotate the left arm, or if he grabs at your right side, rotate your right arm. The retreat and the rotation freed you. Now move away from the danger zone. Best is circle around the opponent. Talking to the opponent can be part of the technique to de-escalate the situation. Upper arm rotation and a lock on the elbow against a one-hand shirt grab. Practically, this is a troubleshooting technique, meaning you try to do the previous technique, moving away, rotating the upper arm and releasing yourself. However, in this technique, you didn't manage to apply pressure on the palm and the fingers of the opponent, but on the wrist of the opponent. Against a strong grab, you will not be able to free yourself. However, a strong arm rotation created a torque in the arm of the opponent who's grabbing you. His arm was rotated, his elbow came up. Your technique did not free you. However, it brought the opponent into a position in which you can press his elbow down, creating a lock. So the rotating arm is landing diagonally on the attacker's arm. More or less, your palm should be directed with a hook on the area of the triceps of the opponent. Your other arm should join on the level of the elbow of the attacker. So with two arms wrapped around the elbow of the opponent from three sides, from the outside, from the inside, and from above, you're creating pressure downwards and towards yourself, towards your stomach area, while moving backwards, flattening the opponent on his stomach. At this moment, you can even talk to the opponent, warn him, definitely move away from the danger zone. It is important to be able to release yourself from different grabs like this, and not only to strike. Striking may be inappropriate and maybe even illegal in such cases. Release from a one-hand shirt grab from behind. Here we demonstrate a problem. An attacker from behind pulls your shirt in order to turn you and then strikes. Go with the pull and turn towards the opponent while raising your arm high over the grab. So a straight arm is raised to the side of your head. As soon as possible, look at the opponent and try to evaluate what the opponent is doing. Your response should be appropriate one. While turning, if the attacker was also attacking, the rotating arm, the high arm, could do a defense. And then you should counterattack with the rear hand. Or the arm that you lift passed before colliding, before deflecting the attack, so your backhand should be defending. The backhand can do inside defense or a sliding inside defense with a strike in the end. simultaneously with the defense or immediately afterwards, start delivering counterattacks in order to neutralize this ability of the attacker to continue. In the basic practice, you should drill with your partner different possibilities, meaning sometimes somebody pulls you from behind and he doesn't attack. Sometimes the attacker grabs, pulls, and delivers a straight punch, or a delayed straight punch, or a circular attack. Just practice how to deal with these sort of problems. Dealing with two hands shirt grab. As usual, the first thing we should practice is the preventive measures. First example is defend the attempt to get grabbed. Of course, if you can see an aggressive attacker from a distance, you should do preemptive attacks. At a shorter distance, the best is of course defending and counterattacking. Here we assume the situation is not so dangerous, so the solution is defend the attacker's attempt and moving away from the danger zone, or control the opponent and push him away from you. In these cases, it is most suitable to continue with talking, warning, ordering the opponent. Attack the opponent if you see that this is the needed thing to do. Dealing with the grab and an attack. The grab itself is not dangerous, however the attacker is trying to give a headbutt or any other optional attack. Send two hands to deal with the headbutt. It's a natural response, sending two hands to defend yourself. You send two hands, usually overlapping palms, to meet the attack, to do some sort of a block. If you're more surprised, you may be even leaning backwards. If you're less surprised, prevent the attack at its earliest stage. Continue with counterattacks such as knees, punches, all as needed. Dealing with the shirt grab, retreating and putting the elbow inward. Here, after the elbow is in, protecting ourselves and the body is turned, so you're not a wide target in front of your opponent, you need to evaluate and judge what to do. Is it a dangerous situation or not? If it is a dangerous situation, like we show here, the first response after putting the elbow as protection is to strike or kick. The immediate strike is naturally, according to the distance, either an elbow strike sideways or a hammer punch sideways. After the first counterattack, continue. Our example can be grab the opponent and deliver a couple of knee kicks. Obviously, you should respond according to the situation and the level of danger. Move away and insert the elbow. Do not insert the elbow too much, it still should be more or less just after the face or the side of the head of the opponent. If you put the elbow too low or too inward, your head becomes exposed again. This technique definitely requires a body torque, a pivot, and a retreat away. Here in the dry drill, we can see the retreat while inserting the arm in. When you insert the arm, the palm should be very close to you. The level of the elbow should be at the level of the face of the opponent. Inserting the elbow like this can be even a strike to the opponent who's trying to headbutt you. Insert the elbow just a bit past the target and then continue. Here we assume the situation is dangerous, so continue with counterattacks, meaning the first counter is a hammer punch sideways. A release from a two-hand shirt grab with a leverage on the attacker's wrist. As in the previous technique, you move away and insert your arm between you and the opponent. Evaluating the situation, you understand it is not a real dangerous one. So it may be an option to do much more of a solution which does not break the opponent. The best option is to create a wrist on the opponent's hand. In a non-dangerous situation, it is obvious we can do a soft solution. With both palms, you grab the opponent's fist. Your elbow of the front hand should still be high to protect yourself. The strong clamming on the opponent's hand enables you to return with rotating of the opponent's fist. Return and reach a frontal position while rotating the fist of the opponent. Bring the pinky side up. His wrist is bent for about 90 degrees. In most cases, his elbow is also bent about 90 degrees. Now rotate the fist and send it downwards towards the opponent's stomach area. This creates a strong and painful lock on the opponent's wrist. He is going down because of this. He is lowering himself to escape the pain. Push the opponent away, release yourself from the grab. The hand is no longer holding your shirt. The essence of this technique is move backwards and return forward. Moving backwards, we straighten the opponent's hand and we can grab and rotate it. Returning forward enables a strong lock on the opponent's wrist. Returning parallel to the opponent, the retreating leg came forward but still remains behind the front leg. Creating a strong lock needs stabilization of the wrist and turning it. Stabilize the opponent's hand on your chest area. Usually the index finger of the opponent is pressed against the upper part of your chest, in the area between your two collarbones. Leaning forward and down, sort of crunching, enables you to deliver a very strong lock on the opponent's wrist. Naturally, to be able to create a strong lock, your two hands should be pressing like a clam very strongly the opponent's fist between them. Against a full Nelson grab, the preventive measures. The moment you feel the opponent inserting his arms, bend forward and tighten your arms to your sides. With the diagonal palm, grab one or two fingers of the opponent. Make the lock and strike with the elbow. After the first strike, continue with striking as needed, circle and step to the outside and get away from the grab. Release from a full Nelson grab, scraping the fingers. The attacker managed to grab you. Start by hitting backwards with your palms. If you hit his eyes, it will be definitely an advantage. Cross your hands over the opponent's palms. Partly overlap your own fingers. Feel the opponent's grip. Dig for a finger or two, make a lock, and pull the palm away. Bend forward to enable a first strike with the elbow towards the opponent's head. Continue with more counterattacks, circle away from the grab, and finish the situation. The appropriate solutions against knife attacks at a long range are naturally kicks. When it is possible for you, you are able, the timing is good, the distance is correct, use kicks to defend against the straight knife attacks. Attackers at a long range, when he advances, you kick the attacker. You can kick with a regular kick, with a side kick, and with bailing out and delivering roundhouse kick or a side kick. We have done it before. Inside defense from the outside against a straight knife attack. Starting from the medium range, the attacker advances strongly forward and stabs, few stabs, with a straight knife attack. The attack can be delivered to the higher or lower part of the torso and the head. The forearm hand defense is executed inward and diagonally forward. The bony part of the forearm meets the palm or the wrist of the attacking hand. The elbow is low and the forearm is as vertical as possible, sent to meet the attack as soon as possible. The moving forearm continues to move inward and forward, thus slides while deflecting and redirecting the attack. The sliding forward motion brings the forearm with the low elbow to the area of the elbow and even the biceps of the attacker. The body defense with the torque of the upper body, a pivot, plus stepping diagonally forward, takes the whole body, which is the target, outside the channel of the attack. While stepping diagonally forward, your front leg should reach more or less to the parallel line with the front leg of the attacker. Immediately after the defense, you start with counterattack while grabbing with a C-grip, meaning with your fingers and thumb, the attacking forearm. Usually, if the attacker recoils fast, you'll be grabbing the forearm while it returns backwards. Delivering counterattacks, the defender takes care that the attacker will not be able to continue an attack. The defending forearm is still pressing the attacking forearm, not letting it return to a line which is endangering the defender. After the counterattacks, continue to the finishing mode. This can be pushing, moving away from the danger zone, or continuing with double control, with more counterattacks, and disarming the attacker. Disarming the attacker is done, first of all, with bending of the wrist, sending the knife to the outside. The strong bending of the wrist weakens the grip. Naturally, the strong weakening of the grip was done because of the counterattacks. The defender continues with weakening the grip on the attacker's palm, inserts with his finger into the palm, and scrapes the knife away while sending the blade to the outside. Remember, do not pull the blade towards yourself. In the dry drill, we see the forearm defense executed as vertically as possible to defend lower and higher parts of the body. The body defense moving while stepping with the left and then the right legs diagonally forward, continuing with trapping the attacking arm while delivering strong counterattacks. The whole action takes the defender out of the channel of the attacks. Inside defense from the inside against a straight knife attack. Attackers from the medium range advancing and attacking several straight knife attacks. Defend with the inside sweeping defense with the forearm and continue with a hammer punch sideways while controlling the attacking arm. Finish with several counterattacks, among others with the back knee, and then disarm and get away from the danger zone. One will have to do this technique if the right leg and right hand are forward, meaning if your left hand was forward, like in the previous technique, you need to defend to the outside for a right-handed attacker. If you are with your right leg forward, you need to defend with the right leg and right hand moving diagonally forward. As in the previous technique, the forearm defense, here it is a sweeping one, should meet the attack at the palm or the wrist of the attacking arm. Defending too deep, meaning on the attacker's forearm, can result with an injury. Inside defense with the forearm is done, first of all, diagonally forward to meet the attack as soon as possible. However, because of the nature of the attack, there is some sort of a hole in the area of the wrist and the elbow of the attacker. The angle that the attack is coming towards you is a bit more inward. To prevent the attack from sliding towards your body, you need to execute a sweeping action with your forearm that maintains a correct angle with the attack and sweeps it away from you. The sweeping action, together with the body defense, brings your chest more or less parallel to the attacking arm. At this moment, bringing the defending forearm high into a horizontal position to strike with a hammer punch sideways. While bringing the elbow high, the other hand, the back hand, goes to trap to grab the attacking knife hand. The grab should be executed diagonally forward towards the direction that the attacking arm is recoiling to. The grab should be done with the low elbow to maintain a good possibility for a defense with the forearm of the grabbing hand. Your body moves diagonally forward, thus you should be kicking with the back knee. Kicking with the forward knee will put you much more inside the channel of the attack. If you manage to grab the attacking hand, great. If not, the backhand should be protecting you and also counterattacking while you move around towards the back of the attacker. In a case that you manage to trap and grab the attacking hand, it is an option now, of course, to disarm the person. So create a reasonable distance between you, use the other hand for double control over the attacking hand, meaning grab the wrist and the fist of the attacker. With your right palm, with the heel of the hand, you're pressing and bending the wrist of the attacker, weakening the grip on the knife. Then insert your fingers into the palm of the attacker and scrape the knife away from him. Inside reflexive defense against a straight knife attack to the lower abdomen. The situation starts while your hands are relatively low and the attacker is at a relatively close range. Attacker attacks and the reflexive action is to send both hands towards the attack. We change this into one hand that is mainly doing the defense, plus a body turn, and then returning the body with a strong kick. The inside defense is done with the pinky is down and the thumb is up, stretching the palm and deflecting the attack while hitting the back of the hand of the attacker. While executing the hand defense, you should pivot your body. Shift your weight to the left leg and turn the body, moving it away from the line of the attack. As soon as possible, continue with either moving away from the danger zone or with a strong kick. Naturally, this technique is a default and the best thing you can do if you have been surprised and you could not do any preventive actions so the attacker will not reach at such close range. After the initial counterattacks, move away from the danger zone and continue as needed. In the dry drill, we see the stretched palm moving diagonally forward in order to deflect the attacking palm, the attacking hand which is holding the knife. Body defense, the torque, the pivot, and moving a bit to the outside, towards the left. As soon as possible, continue with additional moves or strong counterattacks. Finishing mode, as usual, move away from the danger zone or any relevant tactical moves. Remember, the starting position is a natural one that dictates this reflexive inside hand defense. An outside reflexive defense against slow, straight knife attacks. Either the attacker started from short range or you managed to see him at a later stage. The reflexive motion is sending two hands forward to meet the attack. This sort of initial stance and initial reflexive defense dictates really an outside deflection, an outside sort of scooping action. Send your defending hand diagonally forward and downward, deflecting with a scooping action sideways. The deflecting part is the lower part of the forearm and the wrist, maybe even the palm of the defender. At the same time as the hand defense is being executed, the defender is moving the body, sort of a pivot, a torque, away from the traveling knife. As soon as possible, you deliver counterattacks with the other hand. Continue with moving away from the danger zone, stepping diagonally forward. It will be very efficient to kick now with the back leg. This bending, this moving away sideways with the pelvis is very efficient. As soon as possible, you should deliver the counterattack with the free hand and move away from the danger zone. Move sideways or diagonally forward, away from the channel of the repetitive attacks. Counterattacking with the back leg is naturally efficient. Kicking with the front leg may keep you a bit more closer to the line and the channel of the attack. With a dry drill, we first see the initial stance, then sending the hand diagonally forward to meet and deflect the knife and the attacking hand. Body movement with the torque, the pivot, and the counterattacks are clearly seen. Continue to move away from the danger zone with the relevant counterattacks and the tactical maneuvers. Remember that initial solutions are kicks to be delivered when the attacker starts from the longer range. We have the regular kick, the side kick, and the roundhouse kick while bailing out, or a side kick while bailing out. One should deliver several counterattacks as needed and then move away from the danger zone, or do any other tactical maneuver in order to foil the attacker's intentions and actions. Defending a slash attack towards the upper part of the body, the chest, the neck, the face, can be done naturally with a 360 outside defense. As soon as possible, meet the attacking hand in the area of the wrist or the palm, lowering your head between the shoulders and lifting your shoulders to protect the head. The counterattack is executed at the same time as the defense is. Shift your weight diagonally forward to create a better body defense. More or less your sternum is directed with a movement towards the shoulder of the attacking hand. In sort of a whip action, your wrist and palm are being wrapped around the attacking wrist or forearm of the attacker. Continue with advancing forward and counterattacking more. When it is possible to have a better control and a grip on the attacker's hand, you should move your thumb to have a good C-grip on the attacker's hand and press his hand away from you. This is stretching the shoulder of the attacking hand, making it more difficult for the attacker to continue. Finishing mode can be more counterattacks and moving away, or just push the attacker away from you and disarm him. The disarming process is practically almost identical to what was done against the overhead attack with a knife. Move your body away or push the attacker away from you, and with a straight arm, circle the attacking arm until it is more or less in front of you with the double control. So your other hand gripped with the palm of the hand pressed against the back of the hand of the attacker. Strongly bend his wrist and then scrape the knife, taking it away from the attacker's hand. Remember, when you take the knife away from the attacker, do not aim the blade towards yourself, but towards the outside. After disarming, continue as needed, maybe with additional counterattacks, all as required for defending and saving your life or the lives of others. Defending a low knife slash towards the midsection. The attacker starts from relatively short range. With a small step, he can reach you with a strong knife slash. Block, counterattack, advance, control the hand wielding the knife, continue with additional counterattacks, and disarm the person or just move away from the danger zone. The hand defense is a strong block done towards the area of the wrist and the palm of the attacker. At the same time, the defender is moving forward, first shifting the weight forward and then, as soon as possible, advancing, stepping forward. The advance is definitely creating a body defense, which is putting the body behind the weapon. Control the knife by controlling the hand which is wielding it. This is being done by wrapping the hand around the forearm. The little finger, the pinky, should be in the area of the elbow of the attacker. Your elbow should be pressed against your ribs and pulled backwards. Continue with more counterattacks and then use the finishing mode. The hand defense, which is a block, should be done with the middle area between your pinky joint and the elbow joint. This will give you reasonable margin for mistakes. The process of disarming. The attacker's forearm is very close to your body. First of all, with your palm, grab the hand holding the knife, so the heel of your hand is pressed against the back of the hand of the attacker. All this is done as you're pressing the attacker's hand so it is limited. Attacker cannot wield it, cannot pull it. Then with the hand that was holding the elbow, go and grab the wrist of the opponent and move away from the danger zone. When you are reasonably far away, using a kick will be appropriate. Bend strongly the wrist of the attacker, then relax your grip, then enter with your fingers into the palm of the attacker, grab the knife and scrape it away from the hand holding it. Remember, the blade should be pointing to the outside and not towards you. Retreating and dealing with a returning knife slash. Either as a natural response or as a tactical decision, your first action against the first slash was retreating. Bring your hands near your throat, lean and arch your body backwards and step backwards with one leg. After the knife has passed and before it is returning, advance forward with double forearm defense. Block the returning arm from the two sides of the elbow, then control it, counterattack as soon as you can, and then do a finishing mode, which is either moving away or disarming the person. After disarming, continuing with more counterattacks and moving away, all is needed. In the learning process, one should start this technique from a medium range, so the attacker has to advance with a considerable step, send the first slash and then the second slash as the returning attack. It is naturally a very natural way of the attacker to act, meaning slash more than one time. The knife is going back and forth, from side to side. At the appropriate timing, the defender is leaning and moving backwards. The chin goes down, the body goes back. There is a sort of an arch while stepping backwards. Step backwards and remain with a high heel. Return as soon as possible at the appropriate timing to deal with the second slash with a returning knife. To do it efficiently, lower your pelvis, contract your abdominal and core muscles, and step forward with the forward leg. So the upper body returns and the leg steps forward. This puts you, as soon as possible, relatively forward, for you to defend with two forearms the returning knife hand. To avoid the knife from sliding alongside your forearms and maybe entering into a sensitive area and hurting you, block with the two bony parts of your forearm below and above the elbow of the attacking arm. Then trap the attacking hand with your forward hand and counterattack strongly with your backhand. Your advanced movement is being done a bit diagonally forward, so you are moving with the direction of the stab. With your forward hand, grab the attacking hand. Your elbow is low, so your forearm can press the attacking arm away from you. Counterattack as soon as possible to neutralize the attacker. Continue then with either moving away from the danger area or go to double control and disarm. In order to do a double control, the counterattacking hand goes and grab the fist of the attacker, then slide with the forward hand to grab the wrist area. Move away from the attacker into a range that you can protect yourself better and deliver appropriate kicks as needed. Bend the wrist and disarm the attacker as we usually explained earlier. After the disarm, move away from the danger zone. If needed, counterattack again and move away from the danger zone. In the dry drill, we emphasize here raising your palms towards the neck, leaning backwards, stepping backwards. Your chin is low. Then sending your hands forward, the two forearms, to meet the attacking arm. While doing so, lower your pelvis, make your torso straighter, move forward or really diagonally forward, grab strongly the attacking arm with a low elbow, and counterattack with your backhand. Dealing with a returning attack in the low knife slash. Either as a natural response or a tactical decision, you moved away from the first knife slash. That knife slash started from a medium range, the attacker advanced and cut towards the medium section. First attack he missed because you moved away, and now he's returning with a second knife slash. Again, this is a natural way of knife attacks that attackers are using. Move your hand and the whole middle section away from the slashing knife. Practically you are jumping backwards, pulling your hands backwards and up, removing the lower part of the torso and the pelvis away from the danger area. As you move backwards, your center of gravity stayed relatively forward, so you can burst forward and do the proper hand defenses. Send both forearms, one with the palm up, one with the palm down, diagonally forward to meet the returning knife attack. The double defenses with the forearms done with the bony parts of them. Send your forearms to meet as early as possible the attacking hand below and above the elbow. This strong block away from your body is a guarantee to an effective solution. The two forearms are blocking as they are perpendicular to the attacking hand. Two forearms are parallel, so it will not be possible for the attacking arm to penetrate between them. There's relatively short distance between the two forearms. Continue with the control of the forward hand with a low elbow as the forearm is pushing the attacking hand, and counterattack with the backhand. Pay attention that your body defense is practically moving backwards from the danger area and then moving diagonally forward a bit to the outside of the area of the attacker to improve your chances of avoiding the knife. After the counterattacks, to disarm the opponent, one should grab his fist, naturally with the palm pressed against the back of the hand of the attacker, then slide with the forward hand, grab the wrist area, move away from the danger zone into a distance of a kick, kick as you need, and then disarm the attacker, firstly using a strong wrist leverage, then penetrating, inserting the fingers inside the clenched fist of the attacker and scraping the knife away while sending the blade to the outside. Remember not to send the blade towards your own body. In the dry drill, it is clearly seen how the defender is moving backwards with the legs, keeping the shoulders and the head more or less in the same place. Naturally, because the attacks are low, you do have a necessity to move the lower part of the body. The hands are being pulled backwards and up. First of all, it is a natural response. Second of all, it is efficient and a good preparation for the hand defenses. Burst diagonally forward, block with the two forearms as the elbow of the rear hand is strongly lifted, so it will be relatively close to the wrist of the forward hand. The two forearms are parallel to each other. Blocking the attack is being done while moving with the body relatively low to enable an efficient hand defense. The two forearm defenses are done trying to meet the elbow at 2 points below and above it, in the area which is in the middle of the defending forearms. Continue with the control of the forward hand. This is done with a low elbow and a pushing forearm to prevent the attacking hand from sliding towards your body. Counterattack as soon as you can and move for the disarm or the finishing mode. Defending against a stab with a stick. Attacker holds the stick low and stabs towards your stomach or chest. Start with a hand defense, continue with the body defense, a step diagonally forward, and the first counterattack with the back leg. Your palm is stretched, the thumb is up, the pinky is down. Defending with the heel of the hand. Do the defense as forward as you can. For this, you need to pivot your body, send the shoulder forward. The opposite hand comes up across the chest to the other side of the face. It's important that this hand will be in that area so it will not get stabbed. The torque with the body defense follows with a step diagonally forward. Initially, the advancing foot is turned in, but when it lands, it's already turned out. Pelvis has turned, so the leg is on its way to the target in a good kick at the correct range. Your upper body has turned now, so your left shoulder is now forward. Grab the attacking hand or the weapon as soon as you can with the hand that was your backhand. The grab is done in a straight line from your chest area towards the attacker. So your grabbing hand moves along this line. Having control of the weapon or the hand holding it is rather essential. The regular kick aimed to the groin area recoils and the leg lands outside the channel, meaning outside the advancing leg of the opponent. Continue with more counterattacks and then grab the weapon and disarm the person. Looking from behind the defender, it is easy to see the body defense and the advance diagonally forward. See how the pelvis turns in and then turns out. Turns in for the body defense, turns out to enable a good counterattack with the leg, with the kick. Remember, after the initial counterattacks, one has to do the finishing mode. One of the options is, of course, to disarm the opponent. In order to disarm the opponent, add the backhand, the one that was just attacking, and grab with it the weapon near the backhand of the opponent. Pull the weapon along the side, along the line that it is pointing to, and then rotate it so the front side, which may be a sharp side, a pointy side, a blade, will go towards the head of the opponent. The disarm is done first with a pull and then with a rotation. In a dry drill, we see the hand defense, the body defense, the torque of the body, the moving diagonally forward, sort of a switch between the positions of the hands. The defending hand, which was sent first forward, is now recoiling, and the backhand is going to grab. As soon as possible with the grab, or immediately after, the kick hits the target. Remember to land away to the outside. Do not land in the channel or in the line of the attack. The same technique can be utilized against a stab while you are moving towards the live side of the opponent. This time you'll send your left hand to defend the coming stick. Defend the stick as soon as possible away from you, like in the previous technique. Move diagonally forward towards the live side, switch hands, and kick first with the back leg. Continue with landing forward. Remember to land while moving forward, but do not land in the channel of the attack. After the counterattack, must continue. One way to continue, of course, is to disarm the person. Grab the weapon with two hands, pull it, and rotate it. While you're pulling the weapon, it should be along the line where it is pointing. When you rotate, the front side of the weapon should be directed towards the opponent. This is done in more or less horizontal rotation. After the disarm of the weapon, use it as necessary and then move away from the danger zone. Against a stab with a stick or a spear, moving to the live side, there are some chances that the attacker will attack again with the butt, with the back side of the weapon, meaning stabbing, and then, like with the bayonet of the military style, hitting with the backhand, hitting with the butt side of the weapon. If we expect this, we should defend and immediately land with two forearms on the weapon, neutralizing the possibility of a strike with the butt towards the head or the ribs. The hand defense, reaching forward and then moving diagonally forward, is as in the previous techniques. However, now you jump on the weapon with two forearms, slanted, fleshy part. You land on the weapon and with a small circular action, using your hooks at the wrists, lift the weapon a bit. Meeting with the forearms the weapon should be as early as possible before the opponent manages to to change the angle or gain some momentum with the butt attack. Jumping on the weapon should be done low, meaning you should bend your knees. Now lift the weapon a bit and kick with the back leg. Continue with the rotation of the weapon, disarming it from the opponent. Against a high stab with the weapon, the attacker stabs with a stick, holding it from below. The stab is directed towards the head or the chest of the defender. As the attacker chambers and stabs, the defender should send his hand, the forearm should be deflecting the weapon or the hand holding it as soon as possible. Pivot the upper body, meet the attack as early as you can away from you. Depending on the length of the weapon, the defense may touch and deflect either the weapon itself or the forearm or even the upper arm holding it. Defense is done with the fleshy part first and then rotation of the forearm for the bony part to continue the deflection. The deflecting area can be the heel of the hand, the palm, or the forearm of the defender. Move diagonally forward as soon as you can. This is an important issue, the body defense. While you make the hand defense, the other hand, the back hand, is going towards the neck, or the other side of the face. From there, grab and push the attacking arm. The defending hand continues to strike, usually with the heel of the hand, to the back of the hand of the opponent. These moves were appropriate for a relatively shorter range. If the range is longer, one should use the kicks for the first counterattacks. This will be rather similar to the previous techniques dealing with a low stab towards the stomach. It's important that the defending hand will switch its role from defense to counterattack. So the defense should be a very strong, fast strike that recoils, and from there the counterattacks are going to the back of the head of the opponent, or his face, depending on the angle naturally. The finishing mode can be either moving away or first disarming and then continuing as needed. The disarming, as usual, grab the weapon with two hands, this time one after the other, and pull the weapon and then rotate it. Again, try to rotate the sharp, the front side, towards the opponent's head. While training these techniques, be very careful not to hit your partner while you disarm the weapon. Against a horizontal attack forward with a stick. Stick is being held by two hands. The attacker is aiming a push or even a very strong strike towards the chest or the neck or the face. Definitely can be a devastating damage. When you identify the problem at the medium range, send quickly both your forearms to meet the coming attack. Move forward to minimize the movement, the momentum, the speed of the attack. Catch the attacking weapon as close as possible to the body of the attacker. Two forearms are slanted in an angle, meeting with the fleshy part, the area which is less rigid in the tool and the attack, meaning try to land with your forearms on the fists, the palms of the opponent. If you manage this, it's naturally a benefit. You do not encounter a metal object or a very hard object like a hard wood. In one fluent circular motion, your forearms are lowering and lifting a bit the attack. All these elements, the circular action, the fleshy part, the angle with the forearms, all these are reducing the impact with the tool, with the weapon. Circling your arm brings the weapon maximum at your chest level. Be careful not to lift it too much, as it may still be continuing towards your head and hit you. As you lift the weapon, kick the opponent to the groin from below with a regular kick or a knee kick. Continue with more kicks, or hold the weapon with one hand and strike him with the backhand. The strike should be above the weapon. Finishing mode can be moving away from danger zone or even disarming the opponent. If you wish to disarm the opponent, the striking hand grabs again the weapon and circle it towards the face and the other hand of the opponent. The disarming is being done as follows. Hold the weapon with one hand close to your ribs, and with the other hand rotate diagonally forward so the edge of the stick will be rotating near the body of the opponent. After disarming, use the weapon if you need to, then move away from the danger zone. While you move away from the danger zone, it is recommended usually to hide the weapon. The people around you will not treat you as a dangerous one, those who are not enemies. Against a continuing attacker, in case that the defender failed in neutralizing the ability of the attacker to continue an attack. This can be because the attacker made a defense, or just the counterattacks were not good enough. Attacker continues after his regular kick, with defenses, with other attacks. The defender has to continue after his initial defense and initial counterattacks that were not sufficient enough to defend, counterattack, and use his tools accordingly. As needed, the defender needs to continue with the relevant additional defenses, counterattacks, all in order to finish the situation. And here, defending a sidekick. In this case, according to the same guidelines, the defender did not manage to solve the problem at the early stage, and the attacker continues. Attacker continues here with turning around, spinning, and delivering another attack. Practically, the attacker continues to deliver attacks as he feels and according to the situation. The defender has to proceed as soon as possible with the additional defenses and counterattacks. So according to the principles, practically the defender defenses, counterattacks, and then has to defend again and counterattack again until the danger is no longer. Against an attacker who stabs with a stick, one of the options is defending an inside defense with the palm, moving diagonally forward, kicking, controlling the weapon, and counterattacking. However, here the defender didn't manage to succeed completely, managed to defend well, to counterattack partly, not to have so good control, and the attacker continues. According to the situation, the attacker attacks what is comfortable for him, meaning an attack sideways to where the defender moved to. Sort of a horizontal attack, partly stabbing, partly swinging the weapon. The defender continues with the relevant defense here, an outside defense with the fleshy part of the forearm. Continuing with counterattacking, with controlling. Again, all is according to the situation, to the dynamics of the incident. We're practically using the principles, the techniques, the variations that we are used to. The main thing in the subject of continuing attacker, one has to recuperate fast, to decide early, to change his actions in order to foil the attacks, the behaving of the attacker, the danger. Defending against an over a stick attack. According to the guidelines of the returning attacker, the defender didn't manage to neutralize the problem. The hand defense went well, the body defense went well. The counterattacks didn't stop the attacker. So, attacker continues. And what is left for the defender? To continue to. Meaning, now the defender needs to deal with what is coming. While delivering counterattacks, moving correctly, the defender also uses double hand defense against the swing of the stick. So attacker, after the swing from above, continues with the horizontal swing. The defender with two forearms defend, counterattacks, and eventually solves the problem. Naturally, the tactical behaving of the finishing mode, the post-fight, should be applied. Here, moving away from the danger zone, with or without disarming the attacker.
Move!
Training fighting drills, different skills and tactics, attacking, defending, counter-attacking, moving, creating opportunities, fighting with the thinking to create maximum damage to the opponent while sustaining minimum damage to yourself. Naturally, this training are light training with equipment, so one will not get hurt. Respect your partner, take care of your partner, see that your partner is not being injured, control yourself. If you control yourself, you're on the right path to control the situation and control the opponent. Be respectful for your partner, take care that your partner learns, that you learn, that both of you get better. Don't be worried, don't be anxious from getting hit. If you get hit, you have the opportunity to learn, to get better. In training, this is the place and time to get better, to improve oneself. So every defense, every strike is an opportunity. Every attack that managed to penetrate through your defense is a platform for you to reach higher abilities. Release from a one-hand shirt grab using a thumb lock. Attacker tries to grab your shirt. Remember, try to avoid it, to prevent it as much as you can. However, if the attacker managed to grab you, one of the additional options is to make a lock on the thumb and release yourself from this grip. The moment you decided to use this technique, move away with the leg opposite to the side that has been caught. With the opposite hand, you grab the opponent's wrist. With the diagonal hand, you apply a lock on the thumb of the attacker. As you apply the lock, push the grabbing hand towards the attacker and move away from the danger zone. While applying the lock, your two hands are busy, so be sure and be aware that the attacker doesn't attack you at the same time with his other hand. With the opposite hand, meaning if the attacker grabs you the right, you use your left hand, grab the wrist and the back of the hand of the attacker, partly from below and partly from the side. With the other hand, reach and press the attacker's thumb. You can apply two types of locks, of leverages, on that thumb. As you do that, you push the thumb and the palm of the attacker away towards him as you move away from the danger zone. The whole technique should be done very fast, abruptly, before the attacker changes his behaving and starts attacking you with the hand, with the other hand, or with kicks. Practically, we consider this technique as a rather softer solution, appropriate in cases that the violence and the danger is not high. The first kind of lock can be applied on the first joint of the opponent. With this pressure, you create a lock, a painful leverage, on the first joint. You should press the nail, the tip of the thumb, forward and upwards. Bending that first joint creates much pain. This pressure is being done by sending your palm forward and upwards and closing your fingers on the lower part of the thumb of the opponent. Practically, you're closing your fist and pushing it forward. Second kind of lock can be done on the second joint of the thumb. Here, in a circular action, you are moving the thumb downwards, forwards and upwards. Practically a circular action. On the right hand of the opponent, it is done counterclockwise with the rotation action of your locking hand. Here too, you are closing your fist and applying pressure on the thumb, especially while it is moving forward and upwards. As you do the lock and creating pain, the attacker is releasing the grip. You help him by pushing his hand away from you and moving away by yourself from the danger zone. Defending against an assault with an assault rifle or a submachine gun from behind or diagonally from behind. The attacker approaches and aims and touches with a weapon. You notice the threat and you act against it. Hand and body defenses move into grab the weapon, counterattack, and then disarm the weapon. Finish by moving away from the danger zone. This technique belongs to the higher G and expert levels of the system. Start with the hand defense. Your upper arm, shoulder blade area is deflecting the gun to the side. Advance forward towards the attacker. The deflecting hand wrapped itself around the weapon and the hand of the attacker. Your back hand grabs the backside of the weapon or the attacker's rear hand. At the same time that you do the hand and body defenses, your closed leg is turning and stepping diagonally backwards, close to the attacker, however, enabling the body to be outside the line and the channel of the attack. Continue with the second step and at the same time, kick with your knee to the groin of the opponent. The position of your pelvis should enable an appropriate knee kick at the correct range. After this relevant counterattack or counterattacks, as your upper hand grabbed the back of the weapon, the area of its butt, pull the weapon and then rotate it more or less horizontally, aiming the barrel towards and past the opponent's head. This action definitely disarms the opponent. Continue with more attacks, including the possibility of attacking with the weapon itself. Finish with additional counterattacks as needed, and then move away from the danger zone. If one is proficient with the operation of weapons, one can render the weapon useful and use it as required by the situation.